let's
get into it, shall we?
Let's break it down. We've been off for a couple
I saw
weeks.
the stuff. There's a lot of stuff that fucking happened, man. There's a lot of stuff that we gotta discuss. You want to go big or you want to go small? Because you got some of the things here. You got a pretty big, like big topics.
You tell me what you like, bro.
We can go big to small.
Yeah, let's go big to small.
Okay. So, one of the main ones here that is on the list, but is also kind of right now everyone's talking about. In 2 days, we got the American election.
Yep.
Kind of a big deal for for most people, even outside the U.S.
Yeah.
For me included, I'm guessing you included as well.
For sure.
There's implications. You know, I don't know if you've noticed this in your industry, but it's interesting how people will point to the election and say that's the decision maker for some of the things that they will do in their own actual business. Like, I have customers that are actually holding off on purchases because they're like, we don't know how this election's going to go, and we're going to wait to see who gets in power to see if it's going to be to our benefit or not. Like, if it's Trump, he's probably going to go back to oil and gas and, like, bring back or undo some of the renewable, like, fuel, renewable, like, energy solutions that have been proposed in the last, like, 8 years. And if it's Kamala, she'll probably do the opposite. And it's like that has implications both ways for business. So it's interesting to see how many people are actually not only paying attention, but kind of just waiting to see what happens to then make their own decisions in, like, their business or their personal lives or whatever else the fuck they do. So very interesting. Right now, from what I've seen, it seems like a dead heat. Depending on which poll you look at, one person will be favored over the other. Depending which state you look at, same deal. It looks like at the end of the day, it's going to be a very tight race. Probably a lot of controversy, whoever wins. I don't think if one person wins and the other loses, they're going to be gracious. I think it's going to be like, if Trump wins, Kamala's going to say some shit about how America's doomed and fucking, Republicans bought I don't know. If Kamala wins, it's going to be the same old story like last time, where it's going to be like, oh my God, the Democrats, rigged the voting machines and all this other shit. So it's going to be, I think, interesting either way.
I don't know. The Dems last time got like some fucking mail away votes. They got like 20 mail away votes in like the last 2 days.
I don't remember the number, but yeah, that's typically how the mail-in ballots work. They get sent in.
How come it just works for the Dems is what my question. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would have a similar number coming for the Conservatives. Maybe not. There was like 3.5 million coming in for the Conservatives.
Because you have to look at why people do mail-in voting to begin with, and what type of people would be more prone to doing mail-in voting. Typically, older people,
older mid-state people.
Older people will be generally right-leaning. And those are the people that are going to be typically not using technology, not using any kind of like advanced whatever. They will show up the day of the poll. That's why generally at polling stations, you'll see that the
demographic is old.
Not only demographic is old, but when they do like the exit polling to see like who voted which way, a lot of the times it's like right-leaning, conservative-leaning or whatever, because it's older people that show up to vote. They show up early, they show up, on time or whatever, but they're there in person to do their thing.
Right.
So... like that happened here in the provincial election, actually. When they when they were counting the mail-in ballots for Guildford and Surrey, most of them turned out to be that's why NDP won the seat. When they were losing by like almost 150 votes, they ended up winning by like 13. So,
nice.
I don't know.
I don't think it's close.
Oh no?
No, I think.
What are you thinking?
I think Trump has it by a landslide.
Landslide. Why so?
With the exception of that one. With the exception of that one back and forth debate that they had, where she looked good.
Yeah.
Other than that, she's looked terrible. Her choice of endorsements has been not as good. She could have easily went on the Joe Rogan podcast right after Trump.
Yeah.
But what happened was J.D. Vance took that because she's like, no. Right?
Yeah, how the fuck? What happened?
Now you just got you got Trump in there, who is very polarizing.
Yeah.
Then you have J.D. Vance, who's a much more polished speaker, who also was in the military. So
was he in the military?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know he's an author. That's how he got famous.
Iraq.
He got famous by writing.
He's a full board vet, bro.
I don't know about this. Is it true? Let's see.
Look your shit up, nigga.
He's a
full board vet, son.
You got the NPass now? Damn.
Who?
Hell, you.
I've always had it.
Hell yeah, dog. Yeah, he's known as an author. What was the fucking Ohio boy? What the fuck is this book again? His book is Hillbilly Elegy.
Let's go.
But yeah, military service. What do we got here? Oh yeah, looking sharp. Let's zoom in on our boy JD. Switch me. Oof. Look at that guy.
Buddy.
Look at that guy.
Fucking Marine Corps, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's a savage fuck.
Using the jab.
Like, bro, I got a couple buddies. That
I'll read it because respect to you. Yeah, good call on this. In 2003, Vance enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps, where he served as a military journalist with the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing. During his 4-year service, he was deployed to Iraq in 2005 for 6 months in a non-combat role, writing articles and taking photographs.
Still fucking wild.
Yeah.
I'd still say that's wilder than anything fucking Harris' team's done.
Well, Harris was a
or even Trump's
attorney.
Team. Well, yeah, but she also locked up people for weed.
Oh no, yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit because I got a lot to say about that, which is really fucked.
Well, let's just say it as we go because Harris is corrupt.
Like, Harris,
they're both corrupt. Some of these people don't understand. Like I think the general public doesn't understand. How much it doesn't matter how much I like Trump or how much I agree with him. He still has the same endorsements as Harris does in certain aspects. Right? So what does that mean? That means that these people are not real two choices that we have. They're just the same fucking person. They're an outside sales guy that we're voting for.
Yeah.
That's backed by pretty much similar companies.
You bring up a really good analogy and a really, really good point because I think more people are starting to know about it now, but Harris is not some free-spirited, progressive.
You want a ciggy?
No, I'm good.
You want a weed?
Maybe. Some progressive, all this whatever.
Here, hold on.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna pause it here.
But Harris, who is she married to? Which nationality?
Do
you know off the top of
No,
your
I don't
head?
remember. No.
What do you think? If you had to guess.
1 second. What's
Back to this. Kamala Harris is as corrupt.
I was going to add to that. That's what I was going to add.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so people think that Harris is some progressive, fucking free-spirited, all this shit, she's out for the people. But not the case. As you mentioned, a lot of her policies are actually in line with Trump's policies.
Yep.
When it comes to immigration, when it comes to criminal
activity.
Some of them are
even harsher.
Yeah. When it comes to border control, all this stuff, it's just she got famous for 2 things. One, for allowing gay people to get married in California when she was Attorney General, and for putting away people for a lot of petty shit, bad. She, at one point, she even tried to get parents charged if their kids would miss school. Just some ridiculous shit. Insane. You know what I mean? Just some ridiculous shit. Because her whole thing was about being data-based.
Yeah, but that sounds
she'd be
neo-Nazi shit.
No, it is. Because she'd be if 70% of people who, for example, skip breakfast end up failing, whatever. I'm just making an example. She would use those kind of statistics to kind of push policy, and a lot of it was just way, way, way out. It was basically right-leaning stuff where it's criminals should be prosecuted even if they do 1 ounce of weed, just crazy shit. And so people look at this now, and they're wait a second. Why, if it's going to be the same policy as Trump, why didn't I just fucking go vote for Trump?
She's not the same policy. She's worse. She's a radical, she's a radical socialist that almost sounds like a fascist. And it's not like El Salvador thing where it's
no, not at all.
They're being fascist to clean up the state. It's
exactly
you're being a fascist just for the sake of just being a fascist.
It's
not
ridiculous, man.
Just wipe it with your finger, you fuck.
That's because oh, nice. Sometimes when I do that, you know how it breaks apart?
No. You gotta know how to slide instead of fucking
okay, Mr. Slide. Okay.
Come on, dog.
Mr. Slidey out here. So I guess
conclusion is this.
Landslide.
With the exception of Trump, everybody else has been married to a Jew.
Oh, that's what you're gonna go for.
Yeah. And that's the scary part of all this.
Who was Trump's first wife?
Ivanka?
No. What? That's his daughter.
No. What's his name? No, there was a woman that sounded like that he married.
Melania is his current wife.
Melania.
That's not his first wife.
But who is the first
That's
one?
what I'm trying to remember. Okay. Oh, I think about Ivana. Ivana was his first wife.
Yeah.
What is Ivana?
Russian, I think. Or Eastern Bloc.
Russian Jew?
No, I don't think so.
What would you do if she's Jewish?
I wouldn't be surprised because I'd be like, they're just two puppets that have the same shit.
Czech American businesswoman.
Yeah, there you go. He's not Jew influenced. That's the nice thing about him. And if he is, he holds it very deep.
Yeah, not Jewish.
Shit's locked away.
Not Jewish.
Like the Jewish ties don't really lay with that. I don't know, man. And the thing is like the other thing about the Jewish stuff, it's like, you know, you can call it conspiracy or whatever, but there's just so many links to how Jews control the world. And like I think this idea after World War II was painted to each opposition of what Hitler wanted and why he was the way he was. Don't get me wrong. The Holocaust, terrible thing, right? Killing any nationality like that endlessly is a fucking terrible thing. Or even a religious.
Yeah.
If you take religious people and you just kill them like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's correct by any way. However, do we actually know? Up until like 10 years ago, we didn't even know what he was saying in his speeches. We thought he was just like some crazy fuck.
Who?
Hitler.
What do you mean?
Before 10 years ago, when AI started fucking, did you actually know what he was saying in his fucking speeches?
Of course. What do you mean?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, of course I did.
What did you know? What did he say?
What? Do you think you're speaking some language that nobody knew or something?
No, not even that. Not even that.
What do you mean?
I'm just saying localized people, they are generally not going to do the work of like, oh, let's see. Like, because when you read something, you do some homework behind it to see if one, it's trustable source, two, what does it mean? What do other peers say about this topic or this subject or this event that happened? And then 4, you make your own decisions.
I'm so confused. So like, is your question?
You gotta be.
No, I'm trying to understand. So wait, is your question like, I didn't know what he was saying in his speeches, or that he did his speeches? Like, what's your question there?
What? No, I just mean that you haven't. Not too many people have deeply looked into what he was actually saying.
Oh, okay. I understand. Okay, I understand. I understand.
Translating the words word by word.
Well, the translations are there. I mean, he wasn't speaking some weird like German. He was speaking German. My point again, right?
Is you and me, when we look something up, you more than me, you actually, one of the reasons you're fat is because you just sit in your fucking room or whatever like a dork, but you systematically look at this shit. And that was supposed to be a diss.
Yeah, I kind of got that.
And I just meant it with love because you're getting chubbier.
Okay.
My point is other than the fact that your family and Sabrina are feeding you well, you're turning into a nice little fucking thick boy. Not a lot of people
once was enough.
Are going to be... Not a lot of people...
Get to your fucking point, dude.
...are going to be doing that kind of process, that extensive process. Hey, hold on, bro. You're so impatient.
So when we hit me with the weed, man, this is your fault.
No. You're just impatient.
No, the weed gets me this way, man.
No. You have an ego. That's your issue.
Okay.
Especially when we've done the podcast, like you do have an ego. We all have egos, bro.
Okay.
I have one.
Spit it out.
So because most people don't do this, years just go by without anything being actually translated to them. And then they'll have, majority of the population will have an idea of what Hitler was saying. It's like, we should kill the Jews, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. He's like saying, I warned Poland before I invaded. I warned this other country before I even crossed through. I was telling the UN members to do this, and I was telling them to do that, and I didn't want to go to war here, and I didn't want to do this, but the Westerns are opposing, like, there's clear distinction here between them gaining power within their allies and turning towards us, like Russia and fucking Germany and Italy and shit like that. You know what I mean? So he was like, I feel like I got encroached upon. The same way we can make that same argument with Russia. I don't think Russia attacking Ukraine was a bad thing as far as what they've been saying for the last 50 years. Because NATO has been encroaching upon Russia and the Eastern blocs for years, and they're not even allowed to join? So what's the point? Like, if I was the States, I'd just do this. China, Russia, U.S., we're all on the same team. North Korea, put that fucker in there too. We're all on the same team. Let's just be in the fucking same team. You want to be part of NATO? Come on down. You're part of NATO. Why am I fighting you? Because think about it. A lot of Jews are in politics in the States. A lot of Jews are in politics here. But they also are in every aspect of the world. They're in attorney generals. They're in actors, actresses, NBC reporters, blah, 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 blah. Like, you look down this rabbit hole and you see who is Jewish. That Star of fucking David is on top of like 90% of all industries that are in power of anything in the States. Which is huge because your whole setup is set up based on an ideology. I don't know how much you've read upon Judaism, but Judaism is also, it has hints of paganism. It's just what it is. It's a polished paganism that every time they've talked about multi-god theories, they've changed it to one.
Dog, you said so much there. Where can I begin?
No, you don't have to begin yet. This is my point.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Right?
So it's hard to keep up, man. You bring in like 5, 6 different things, and I'm trying to remember.
Alex Jones thing.
I'm trying to remember. Now I'm like, okay, well, fuck. This guy doesn't want me interrupting him. Now I can't fucking address.
Look, I put that
point
piece
number
of
1.
paper there, and if you want a pen, I could fucking write it down. But if you're gonna do an actual conversation, you're gonna let me speak, and I can let you speak. I think we should have 2 notepads so we can make a couple notes so we don't forget it.
I think what makes more sense is we just stick to one topic.
It's
and
hard.
We go. No, it's not that hard. You brought up a lot of good stuff, and we can easily go off on one instead of switching to the next and the next and the next. I know it's so easy to go to the next topic because it's like tangent. But if we stick to one, back and forth, tangent off the next, and we can that way we don't have to try and remember what the guy said like 10 minutes ago. Because you brought up a lot of really meaty, like juicy points.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you still got more to say, which fair enough.
End of the story is there's a lot of control that Israel has on the Western countries, on G7, I would say on all board counts. So any government, industry, top 500, top 1,000 companies in the world, huge influence Jewish. Even if you look at like Saddam Hussein's wife, she was fucking Jewish. What the fuck? What are the chances that that's just a coincidence?
You know what's also crazy? Completely random here.
Yeah.
You know what the country with the second most amount of Jews in the entire world is? Outside of Israel? In the Middle East? In the Middle East.
Jews.
Yeah. Most amount of Jews in the Middle East. That's not Israel.
Arab country?
Yeah. Like Arab or the Middle Eastern region.
Newer country.
I wouldn't say that. I'd go as far as like think of like
Saudi, bro.
Iran.
Iran does have a lot of Jews.
Yeah. Iran has
let me explain one thing to you.
The most amount of Jews outside of Israel in that Middle Eastern region.
When did Mesopotamia go down?
I can't give you it's in the BC era.
I'll give you something that you didn't even know. When Mesopotamia went down, almost not right away, but the ideas of Judaism came from old school Iranian blood. There's a lot of Jews in Iran that have been Jews for a lot longer than we even had last names. There's kings that were Jews.
You're talking like the old school, like King Solomon, King Solomon,
Judaism,
King David.
people don't understand, like
Joshua.
The idea that Judaism has been around for like 2,000 years.
More.
Or whatever. Get me whatever.
Around 5,000.
5,000 years. The amount of people you're going to touch with that idea is huge. Doesn't matter if it wasn't polished 2,000 years ago as polished as it is now. But right now they got a system. They're like one of the smallest population-wise people in the world. yet drastically own a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta know, like, why am I comfortable with that? If everybody was a Christian or if everybody was a Muslim, you looked at it, wouldn't you feel like, why is everybody this? I would expect there to be as much atheists as other religions, or at least up there. But it seems like at the top, it's very satanic.
Satanic?
Satanic in many ways.
What do you mean satanic? If
I
they're
think
Jews, they're against the what, you're saying they're both? You say they're like masquerading as Jews, but really they're Satanists?
Yeah. So there's two kinds of Zionists, right? There's Christian Zionists.
No.
Yes.
Zionist is just a belief. It's general. It's a Jewish belief. It's not. Doesn't exist outside of Judaism. It started.
You know why Christians believe?
When did Zionism start? Do you think?
Probably like 17, 18.
No, it's a very new concept. We talked about this in a podcast a while ago when we were like, "What the fuck?" But it's actually quite a new propaganda, essentially, that exists only since like the late 1800s, early 1900s. It was not even like a serious thing. Like some Jewish guy just wrote about it as like a theory.
Nobody's gonna label themselves a fucking what's it called? They're not gonna label themselves that. So that's why it hasn't been around.
No. It's just because
the ideology of
labeling. Forget labeling. It's just it just didn't exist. It wasn't a published thing. No one talked about it because it wasn't a concept to talk about.
But hold on, it's in the fucking Bible, bro.
No, it's not.
You know why?
Zionism is not in the Bible.
No, it's not about Zionism. The idea of Zionism is that Christians believe that Jews are the actual people. They acknowledge that in their Bible.
The idea of Zionism, one of the main principles, is that the Jews are a people. Remember that. That's what we discovered. Remember when we talked about this in the podcast?
I understand that.
Because the whole thing before that, like in the middle age, however far back you want to go, is that Jews were a religion. They weren't a people. So the biggest myth that we've been sold is that Jews have been a people for the longest time. Like that's a very new concept, that Jews are a heritage, that they're an actual people. Because Judaism is a religion. It's like
I have that
like
fucking
Muslim, Christian, whatever you want to call it.
I understand this.
Right?
We're going on a tangent right now.
Okay, dog, you've been going on tangent for the last 30 minutes. Indulge me.
I'll indulge you right now.
So this concept of Zionism is actually very new because it's propaganda to sell people on the idea that not only are Jews a people, but Jews deserve a home.
Well, wouldn't you say
that they deserve a home because they didn't have a home, right? They were fucked around by whatever. So they're like, we deserve not only a home, but our home's going to be in what we call our holy land, and we're going to displace the people that are there because it's our right, because that's our right as a people as Jewish people.
Yeah, because you're chosen.
And so that was the propaganda.
And
because otherwise,
why did the U.S. other than the Holocaust, why did the U.S. And pretty much the nations involved accept that?
Because the British didn't want to deal with it. And they said, all right, you want a home, take it. I don't know, man. Go talk to Chamberlain or talk
Did you say Britain is
Churchill.
Christians?
No. The British government was in charge of the region of what used to be called, the entire region was called Palestine, which is now of Israel and Palestine and whatever. They were the I forget the name of it, but it's like they were the caretakers. Mm-hmm. And then they said, fuck it, we don't want to do this anymore. Like, you guys just fucking figure it out. And so then they went to the UN Assembly in like 1948, 3 years later, and then they decided, okay, we're gonna make that's gonna be Israel. That's gonna be like New Israel. Like, that's gonna be your land. Mm-hmm. And then they just started displacing people, and then it's been a fucking clusterfuck ever since. Yeah, that's like the very simplified version of this. But Zionism is a new concept. It's not an old thing.
Does it acknowledge Jews in the Bible as people of that land, or no?
Not in the sense that how you think, just that that people in that area happened to be Jewish. Does that make sense? Because they were called, like, there were such terms as like Canaanites, Israelites, Mezonites, Corinthians, like all these like terms for people, because back then what province you were living in or what country you were from determined what you were called. So Jews were a religion. They were not the people. Does that make sense? because you have people from different provinces.
I understand, but then if they're a religion and not a people, this whole idea of them getting a piece of land didn't make any sense. That ruined the Middle East from back then.
I know.
Because
I know.
Honestly,
I know.
Back then, there was some back and forth between the Arab countries and Iran, and everybody has their history. Okay, fair enough, but it wasn't like this. There was no Gaza Strip. There was no Palestinians getting fucking mauled by the second. There's no Syrians that are getting mauled. No. It was Yemen, people getting mauled. Like, bro, think about it. In the last 30, 40 years since this has happened, how bad has this been for the world? Terrible.
Yeah, pretty shit.
And just to simply wrap this up, Kamala Harris is married to a fucking Jew, bro.
If nothing else.
If nothing else.
You guys didn't get anything from anything. Married to a Jew.
He sent me something. I don't know what Sonny wants me to say when he sends me this shit.
I don't know. Ask him.
What am I gonna ask him? Why are you sending me this?
Yeah. What am I looking at here? And he'll be just like, oh, just wanted to send.
Gotta do some major fucking editing on this one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay.
Okay, mate.
So we touched on the fact that there's Iranian Jews,
yes.
And we've touched on the idea that there were people in Mesopotamia that were Jewish. Maybe we haven't said that directly, but
no, we didn't.
Judaism and Mesopotamia have been like correlated. They've overlapped. And there was only a religion back then that was called Zarathustra. And I don't know how much you know about Judaism, but Judaism also is, how do I explain this? It has aspects of what Zarathustra people look at. There's some correlations where it doesn't make sense, where you're like, how the fuck is this old ass fucking religion, Zarathustra, have correlations in this very polished Judaism?
Now we're getting to, I guess it's just gonna be like the religious podcast, which I'm okay with.
It's not religious.
Oh no, because it's interesting. It is interesting.
It's not religious. I just want to make that
just as a point.
Up,
okay.
Because they found that Castro was a Persian Jew bloodline from like
way back,
right? So that makes it interesting because Persians have historically hated Jews, but a lot of us are Jews.
Yeah.
And we still hate them. Isn't that funny? We're in the same religion, but because I know you're not from, you're the Arab side.
Yeah.
I don't look at you the same.
Do you know personally many Persian Jews?
Yeah. A lot more people than you think. A lot of really, really, really well-off people.
I believe it.
Yeah, no, like it's very significant that these people are well-off, and it's because they're Jews, not because anything else. Like they just have certain deals that they make on 50-point radius contracts that normal industry doesn't fucking even see that. Just like weird stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple guys I know that are Jews, and I'm like they have one of the most lavish lifestyles I have. Like we're talking like private jets, bro.
What?
Yeah, we're not talking like he owns it. I think he just chartered it.
Yeah.
Like
still
fucking huge.
Still
huge, bro.
Do you ever? Sorry, do you ever get on Facebook or even on YouTube Shorts or whatever when you look through stuff? You ever get that old guy who sells private jets?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Guy's a fucking champ.
Yeah, dude. Anytime I watch, and it's funny because I'll watch. It's like a long 10-minute video. I'll watch the whole thing, and I'm sitting there on my toilet going like, Why the fuck am I spending so much time looking at this as if like I'm like the target audience for this shit? Like me, I'm gonna fucking buy a $20 million jet.
I think people are interested in that kind of shit because it's the opposite of their life.
I think it's just not only that, but the way that the guy is. You know what I mean? Like he's polished. He knows a lot about what he's talking about and how he sells it, and like he's not
very niche fucking area to fucking sell.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
If you think about that, like two kind of salesmen. I've always my ancestors have been pretty much salesmen and fucking farmers and fucking tradesmen. Like that's all we've been.
Yeah.
So it's like
scammers.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nigerians.
Salesmen.
Salesmen.
Same.
Right?
Same
thing. But what was interesting to me is that this is at a point where I'm like, fuck, this is like the best shit I ever heard about.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
You know the funniest part is because like when he goes, he's got his big fucking screen, right?
Yeah.
And he's going through like the options, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? He's right. I do want like a 15-seater. Yeah, you know what? And I think I do want to travel transatlantic like 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah. And I want to hit those high elevations.
Yeah, like the way the guy,
altitudes.
it just, I don't know. I think the way that guy explains it, it makes so much sense that you get caught up in it making sense. You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but if it's only 2 million, I'm like 2 million, whatever. Right?
Oh man.
But it's hilarious because probably majority of us will never touch that in our lifetime. I don't know if I would want to hit that.
It's
you know why I don't know if I want to hit that?
Why not?
You got to worry about security at that point. You are safe because you are a peasant. Mm-hmm. If you were no longer a peasant and your family were very well off and people had interest in killing you or putting you up for ransom,
wanting to drag you down,
you're living a different kind of life.
It's remember what I told you, my dad's one of his friends way back in the day when he was first in Canada asked him the whole rich poor country thing.
Yeah.
Would you rather be a rich man in a poor country or a poor man in a rich country? Remember that question?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that.
Poor man.
Because yeah, if you make your peace with being a poor man in a rich country, you will live a very secure life, very relaxed, very no stress, no one's coming after you. You're fine. The facilities are there. It's a safe environment because it's a rich country. You're good as long as you make your peace with that, with yourself as like where you are in that chain. Your life will be very good. Rich man in a poor country, you might enjoy everything that goes along with being rich, but like you said, people are gonna be killing you. Maybe people are gonna be after you for sure.
You're a fucking
in a
pink
business
elephant,
sense,
bro.
Like they're gonna want to be you. They're gonna want to drag you down.
You have business competitors.
Yep.
You have locals that are competitors.
Your friends might not be your friends anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's like so much.
You don't have friends at that point. Nobody is your friend at
even worse.
$100 million
even worse
net equity.
Family might want to trade. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Bro, I was fuck. My family turned on me at fucking less than, a lot less than that, bro. I'll tell you that right fucking now. I wish they waited until I was like 100 mil fucking positive. Fucking.
Oh fuck, that's
bro.
Funny.
Waited until I was like 17. And like, hey.
They turned on me as soon as I left minimum wage.
Yeah, bro. Literally.
Oh man.
Just started selling dope.
That's hilarious.
That's something I wanted to touch on, just the Castro thing.
Sure, yeah.
Just because, what are the odds this Cuban fucking dictator is a Persian descent? What?
He looks kind of something like from there. When you look at him, you're like, this guy doesn't. I could see it being some kind of light-skinned Middle Eastern. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got the thick eyebrows. He's got that kind of, gorilla jaw. He's definitely got the hair. Motherfucker's got a beard like Santa Claus.
Yeah,
I can see it.
But he's not hairy.
He was kind of hairy. Not like you fucking hairy.
No, he had no arm hair.
I thought he had like chest hair.
Very little.
Really?
Yeah.
How big do you think his cock was?
I'd say no more than 6.5. I don't think you can be a dictator with like a really big cock. I just don't think you'd have the motivation. You got a 12-inch dick. Like I'm gonna go dictate these people and take their rights away. Like,
instead
why?
of enjoy life, I can
Let
just
me
enjoy life.
Enjoy this 12-inch dick.
Yeah.
I just think people that seek power that much, they're not like completely happy with themselves. I think the people that are just not trying to affect anything are generally the people who are happy with themselves.
I can see that.
That's why they say money and power doesn't bring you fucking happiness. But it does.
It does.
It does.
It gets you the opportunity to get happiness in a lot of ways. Yeah,
it lets you have more. It optimizes you to have more opportunity to be happy. Right? It's gold. But
I think that saying more applies as like, between different areas of wealthy. Right? There's at a certain point you're getting diminishing returns. You're getting more wealth, more money, more access to things, but then you're taking on a lot of negatives. I think that's like it applies more in there. Not the whole poor man rich man. Of course I'll be fucking rich. Being poor fucking sucks. Like having to think about like where your next meal is coming from, or like how you're gonna be able to like afford to fucking like live where you are. Like that's fucked. Very few people are gonna say that guy's actually like truly enjoying life. There's just so much of his life is involved in just security of living.
I think it's all relative. I think the rich guy that sees him and says, wow, he's got very little problems. He's just got to hustle bustle and make ends meet, and he's golden. The rich guy will look at that and say, hey, that's promising and easy and easier to be done. And the poor guy will look at the rich guy and he'll think his life is easy and more promising and is easier to get done because, we have this grass is greener poison in our head.
We do.
And honestly, it's like it's worse for men and women. Men are just become greedier with business, and then women just hop ship with every guy. Every 10 minutes, they're like this. Have you ever had a girl like throw a tantrum at you?
Yeah.
And you just hold her hand, and you're like, hey, relax. And
just
then she just like starts fucking crying.
No.
Does that ever happen to you?
Crying? No.
Bro, this happened to me like 4 times in the past 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is like they know they're wrong. But in the beginning, they're not going to like show you the lock that they're wrong. They're going to act like you're wrong.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Gaslight you a little bit.
They'll gaslight you a little bit just to fuck with you. Do you ever look at like entertainment, Super Bowl, stuff like that?
Just general life. Yeah, of course.
And you ever think like this is pointless information I know about these sports or entertainment or these nominees?
At times, yeah, there's a lot of stuff where I'm like,
how am I going to use this?
Not only that, but I'm like, the worst for me is when I'll sit down, and it's generally not with sports, but with other things like pop culture.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm watching something, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, fuck this. And I'll just like change like whatever I'm watching. So I do get those moments for sure. It depends on what it is I'm watching though.
If we learn that there's circles with these P. Diddy things, there's circles like that, and our favorite stars or athletes or whatever are in these circles.
Yeah,
it paints a better picture of what's actually out there if it's greener for you. Because like if you're learning that your favorite athlete was like gang banging fucking 16-year-olds at Epstein's Island with the fucking Apple CEO
whatever,
and this other guy and fucking whatever, are you gonna really idolize these people?
Yeah.
And I think the good thing about the entertainment is that this is happening. The bad thing is that we think these idols are the top, are the elites. We are wrong. It's who hires these elites and pays for them that are the real elites.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking like Saudis with fucking trillions of dollars.
Oh, no, 100%, dude. Like,
we're talking Jews.
Look at any sports contract, right? And you're like, oh, damn, this guy's making bank. Like, take LeBron. You're like, holy fuck, he's making bank.
But you don't understand.
Okay, he's making bank. There are other players on that team that are making bank. Who the fuck is funding all of that? You look at the owner, like, okay, Jeannie Buss, she's making bank. But then you probably realize that Jeannie Buss is probably also being influenced by, you know what I mean? So like it just keeps going. And once you realize that it keeps going, that's like the crazy part. You're like, okay, fuck. This team's now owned by this like group, and this group owns like how many teams, and then that group is influenced by someone else, and they're actually owned by like
that hedge fund
or whatever it is.
What do you think is the top do you think the ultimate power is something you can specify and say these are the people in power right now?
For
Or
some things.
would you say it's systematic?
For some things, yes. And I think it has... Okay, I'll point out the some things. For some things, yes. So if we talk about sports, we talk about like who owns all the power. There is a clear path and line to see where certain teams eventually up the chain are owned by the Saudi fund.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately controlled by Salman bin and whatever the fuck his name is. I think it's Salman, right? Is that the current guy? So yes, in that case, you're like, yeah, okay, that's pretty fucking clear. Why? It makes sense. They want to have influence in the Western world.
Yeah.
And how can you do that in the best way? Sports makes a lot of sense because sports is broadcast to a lot of people.
And it's hidden.
It's not only hidden, it's something that you already know that they like.
Yeah.
If you try and come up with some ads about like how great Saudi Arabia is, you're trying to find out a way to get people interested in your shit without knowing if it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But if you buy something that you already know people eat up and spend their money on and like and idolize and all this stuff, fucking home run, dude.
Yeah.
So yes, in that sense, that's a pretty clear line. Some of the other shit, man, is fucking convoluted because there's a lot of owners out there that own teams, but you don't know who they're influenced by. Because of the whole Saudi thing, there's not really much more influence. Like you know what the Saudis are trying to do. Like they have enough money where they can spend what they want on anywhere, and they're trying to promote Saudi Arabia as best they can. Okay, that's easy. The other shit's fucking weird. Like the Jews, are they somewhere? Yeah, they are. It's like fucking the Russians. Yes, they are. Fucking these weird fucking media conglomerate, George Soros guys. Fucking your war. Yes, they're all in there, and that's where it gets fucking. It's like a spider's web.
There's really three, I'd say, superpowers, and I wouldn't say Russia is like a superpower hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
It's Russia, China, and America is a superpower, and then you have like these casts of smaller superpowers like G7, and you know,
sure,
that, NATO. But generally speaking, they all are looking for their own benefit.
Yes, they all have agendas that sometimes align with other people, but that doesn't mean that they are the same. So like if Russia has a plan for Russia, China has a plan for China, there will be times where some of those things actually coincide.
Yep.
And then they look to each other and like, all right, well, I don't really like you in the sense that I want to be you, but if helping you means that I get to push my agenda further with easier access, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But just because Russia and China work together doesn't mean that all of a sudden Russians want to be Chinese or the Chinese want to be Russians.
They want to use each other for their benefit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes people think that, they're allies. No, they're not fucking allies. They're just using each other for mutual benefit.
Yeah.
But that relationship will end as soon as that mutual benefit is no longer a thing. It's not like they're buddies. That's not what they don't care.
I don't know, man. Like the G7's been pretty strong. Like historically, can you really even say any other facility of nations that have had peace among each other this much? Like I just think that the key to a lot of this shit is one world government, and one world government is a bad thing because you have a monopoly.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is like it's all inclusive. There's no like illegal aliens anymore. There's no fucking place the Jews can hide anymore. There's no I'm going everywhere I want in the world. You can go everywhere.
Yeah.
That fucking Fidel's son can go anywhere, and that fucking guy from Kmart that works in South Africa can go anywhere. Like that's fucking sick.
You know, it's a really good example of that, but on a much smaller scale, and it eventually actually fucking blew up in everyone's face. Yugoslavia. So Yugoslavia was like this, where at the moment we now have all of them. You got Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro, all this.
Yeah.
At one point in time, it was all under one nation.
One Yugoslavia,
right? And you had Tito Broz, who was the guy who ruled with an iron fist, but people were happy because he took care of the basic necessities for everyone: social security, education, sports, all this stuff. So even though there were different groups within that country, you had the Muslims, you had the Christians, you had all these guys that technically didn't actually like each other. They said, you know what? we're living under one government that is ruling us, even though I don't really fuck with you that much, or I think that you guys should be doing what we do. But because we live in this this one government that benefits all of us, we're gonna play ball. We won't rock the boat too much. A big thing that this guy used was sports. Burroughs used sports as a way to distract the people by saying, you know what, we're gonna form a one nation identity by saying we're gonna fund the Yugoslavian sports and soccer and basketball and all these sports to make them great, so that we can believe that we as a nation are great, because we're already divided by religion, by ethnic class, and all this other stuff. But I'm gonna try and create an image of a one nation, one country, and it worked until he died, and then it all fucking blew up. Literally, all blew up. Once he died, that whole like Iron Fist mentality was gone, and then the infighting started, and then Yugoslavian Civil War.
I think what you have to look at is more long-term, sentimental leaders, and what I mean by that is like you have to come up with a corp that the people believe in, that's aligned and voted like quarterly for their elites. You know, I think the complexity of how easy it is to run for Senate and all these other things has to have some type of backing for corruption. There has to be like quality assurance for corruption, because systematically, if you look at how the government is and you just think about a construction project, you have to have quality settlement, quality settlers to certain spots in the world that have proper natural resources that can trade, and the politicians are for those people to protect the rest of the world. They're not biased to this. If you can have that, you can have peace. But like if you have a one world government, ultimately you have to have peace. Yes, it's not guaranteed, because for the first however long, and until we look the same, I'm going to think I'm better than you.
Yes.
You're better than me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Back to like the Yugoslavia example, that was a huge thing. Not only did they believe in different things, they literally looked different.
Yeah.
The Muslim Bosnians, they looked more Turk than anything. And then you had like the Serbian Christians, they looked fucking white as fuck.
Yeah.
So it was so easy to spot
Yeah.
the differences, because you're just walking down, you'd be like, oh, he's Bosnian, or oh, he's Serbian, or he's Croatian, or whatever, ethnically, right? If that didn't exist, it'd be a lot harder to be like pointing fingers, because the only thing you could point out would be like where you live, but you're like, oh, that doesn't matter. We all move. We're all the same, whatever. Ultimately, I think it's really hard to keep such different groups happy at the same time. You will eventually run into issues where if you can't keep them happy as a whole, and you start favoring one group over the other, you harbor resentment. And resentment leads to anger. Anger leads to violence, and that's when you get these like blow-ups, riots, and then civil war. So a whole one world government thing, I don't know, man. I think like you said at the end, I think that made a lot of sense. If you start looking at each other, then yeah, it's kind of like whatever. Everyone's kind of the same.
Yeah, I think what divides us is like little bullshit details and specs of how we like to live our lives. It's like, but instead of that, we should think of like, this is what works for me, that's what works for that guy, and it's all speculative. Like you think being a Catholic is better than being a Muslim. Because you were introduced to it first, and how did that happen? Your parents were introduced to that. Of course. That down the line, so you see that even smart people are marketed through their life decisions pretty accurately based on the marketing they received. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That being said, you realize that you're not too far off from an uneducated person as an educated person, because you're still kind of sheepish with the marketing.
It definitely goes both ways.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you even take it to like nations. We live in a globalized society, which is great for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Access to technologies, culture, food, people, resources that we wouldn't have otherwise. But at the same time, if you take us back to a time in the world where we were not globalized, where everyone stayed in their own countries and only knew about, like, take it back to a time where if you lived in Iran, you didn't even think that people could look not like you, right? Like, if you take it back to that time, in a lot of ways it's great, because you're like, okay, we all look the same, we're all the same people, this is great. But you also don't have access to things like from Asia or from Europe or from wherever else that you once you have, you appreciate. You're like, oh wow, now we have fucking like spices. Oh wow, now we have these different entertainment. Now we have art. Now we have all these like different things. But take it all away, and yeah, it's simpler, but it's also not at the same time. It's a really interesting paradox where it's like, do you prefer to be completely integrated and possibly run into conflict when your group runs into another group and you guys don't get along because you guys are doing the same thing but a different way? Or do you go to a time where it's like completely removed and you don't even know the beauty of knowing about other cultures and other people?
I think we're beyond that beauty of not knowing with culture.
No, we're obviously in a globalized society. What I'm saying is, like, if you look at those two like extremes, what's better? I don't think there isn't. It has drawbacks on both sides. You kind of have to just.
I think it was better when we didn't have competitive ideologies, or I wish we can stay at a point where we didn't have competitive ideologies.
But then you wouldn't even be able to have, if you don't have competitive, if you don't get to a place to have competitive ideologies, you also are not in a place to be brought into other cultures, period. Because as soon as you get brought into another culture, you get exposed to one, there's going to be competition there. It's natural.
Yes, but just humans just believe that if they hear two things of the same ideologies but two different solutions, one has to be right and one has to be wrong.
Yes.
I firmly believe that it just depends, and these are minute fucking choices we make that drastically change our ideas. But I don't really think that they're that different. For example, if you just take religion, right? Religion is supposed to, as far as elitists using religion, it's supposed to be able to help you dictate people.
Yes.
In certain ways.
Sure.
And as people, it's supposed to bring you to a higher power, a higher
enlightenment.
Being.
Yeah.
This is all religion. Every religion was like this.
Yes.
Some of them better marketed, some of them worse marketed, but they're all the fucking same, right? You got fucking, it doesn't matter. You look at all the religions, they're doing all the same shit. Israel got nuke power. Iran got nuke power. Two different fucking religions.
Yeah.
You go fucking up north, you got fucking Russia. They got nuke power. Fucking different fucking religion.
Mm-hmm.
We're all doing the same shit. You got North Korea. The guy looks nothing like me. He's got nukes too. How funny is that? Like, it's constant. We are doing the same shit, but like, we're not saying like, hey, what's up with this mass hypnosis marketing we're getting? Nobody's questioning this shit. We're questioning like, oh, is my answer right or is God right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have to be look deeper at that. Like, oh, you got blue eyes? What's better, mine or yours? Like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
This is like some grade 3 shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think at pretty much our age, you should start thinking about the fact of like, maybe you're wrong. I think that's a healthy mindset to have growing up. Is maybe I'm wrong. Maybe what I've learned is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my
your wiring
of things that I picked up over the years is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. I think it's a good way to look at things.
I can agree to that.
This is gonna sound. This is the very last thing, and I don't want to go too deep into it because we've already got like an hour. But do you think men and women should be chipped?
Just
or
that's
application process?
Just chipped. Just no context.
Or
do you think people should be chipped?
Or an application process.
Okay.
For insemination, and why I say chip in the first place was because a chip can collect data on your sensory, on your body metabolism, on your ideologies. Like, it has full access to you, right? I mean, like, if you ask any comp sci developer or anything like that, you come up with this idea to him, and he can easily confirm that you can have chips programmed to take in data, similar to Fitbits. They collect data from what the sensors are picking up. When you're inside your body, these are much easier to pick up. Like, you can even pick up tumor marker cell counts through chips, but you can't pick up tumor marker cell counts via wristband, right? So it's much more intrusive. However, it does help with the quality of births we have through quality training and methodology and staging, so that we can have, like, I understand people want to have their own rights, and there's certain amendments in certain countries where people will be like, I want to keep it that way. I want my First Amendment, 2, 3, whatever, right? Cool. But all I'm saying is, you see a lot of these kids out here that are crack babies and shit like that. Well, that could be easily vetted.
Oh man, it's a whole can of worms. Fuck.
Quick.
Okay, my okay. Right off the top, no, I don't. Personally, I don't think this is a good idea.
I know it's not the best, but
I think the problems, in my opinion, that it would lead to are a removal of rights for everything else around a person's body that, at the moment of having this chip in, you think you would have, but as soon as a government is allowed to put a chip in you and dictate whether you can or cannot procreate, according to their decision, because
it'd be a recommendation. It wouldn't be a decision.
Okay, so it's just a recommendation.
This is just a program to better prepare parents for childbirth and having the right amount of kids.
So it's voluntary. It's recommendation based.
It's voluntary. It's recommendation based.
Okay.
But it at some point, like, you have to. I think this one heated up.
Oh, I got it. Keep going.
Yeah, it has to be in a way where it's for the betterment of the child's environment. No, yours, like mine right here. It's the betterment for the child to have parents who are more prepared for that kind of life. You know what I'm saying? Certain parents, if you're making $40,000 each, it's going to be hard for you to raise a kid, right? And the reality is that you just, me personally, you as well, like we both make decent money, but like I don't think there's, with how expensive things are and everything and how much they're going up, I don't think there's an actual number as an employee you can make that you would be comfortable. I've come to this realization. Unless you are like the 1% of the 1%, where you're like a urologist and you're making 900,000 and you're, after taxes, you're making like 450. I firmly believe that for you to be comfortable, especially in Vancouver, you'd have to make like net 200, at least net 300, because think about, white picket fence and all this. Well, this shit costs a lot of money, man.
Well, whatever comfortable is for you is going to be different than the next person, right? So, like, I don't know. Depending on what lifestyle you decide to lead, it can get, like, pretty fucking cost prohibitive, for sure. Where before it wasn't that way. Yeah. So in your head, if you're thinking, hey, I just want a house with my wife and kids, basic shit, nothing too crazy. I don't need to be fucking going out all the time. I don't need to be spending crazy amounts of money on certain things, but I just want these, like, I want to have fun once a week. Like on a hobby, I want to do this or that. I want to provide for my kids, have them go to a decent school, be able to fund other passions and hobbies that we might want, but just in a normal, just like chill way. You know what I mean? Like just like, okay. Before, that was way percentage-wise, way more attainable than it is now, for sure. Yeah. But if your idea of comfort and comfortability now is different, where you're like, okay, I don't need a house, but I could do with this or I could do with that. So if you make concessions in certain ways and you kind of adjust what comfortable is for you.
But if that's not comfort, then
that's a personal thing, though, right? Like,
I get it.
What's comfortable to you might not be comfortable to the next person.
I understand.
And then what isn't comfortable to you will be comfortable to the next person. So depending on what the person wants,
but there has to be a baseline requirement of comfort, though. No. No. So what if that 20 million homeless guy is like, I'm comfortable?
I think
I'm comfortable shooting up.
Okay, well, what the fuck? Like, those are two different things.
No, but you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Regardless, it's like I'm comfortable.
Well, then we'll go to the human. Let's go to the Human Charter of Rights, where it says every person has the right to live, have shelter, have food. Okay, that's it. If you want more, you want to indulge, you want certain things, well, that's not the baseline. you can definitely establish a baseline.
No, but we're talking about having requirements for insemination from both parties.
Okay, yeah, no. So this idea of the chip, I'm actually more sold on it now than at first. Because at first I'm like, yo, this is something where the government's like, yo, motherfucker, that's like a China one policy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's fucking relax.
No, it'd be more.
But if it's like a recommendation, hey, put this thing in.
Yeah.
Listen to what it says.
Education.
Yeah. Listen to what it says.
And we'll pull it out.
Are you really right?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable in it? Well, okay, I'm more sold on it.
And then you take the data from that and you meet up with a psychologist or a doctor or both, and you guys interpret the data together.
Mm-hmm.
Why does this mean this? What does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not ready yet? Why are you ready yet?
Yeah.
You know? But there has to be some economic understandings. Like, I don't believe you can actually have a kid comfortably if you're making like less than 150, 200 grand. It's very difficult. Like household income, it's gonna be close to. There's gonna be some struggles there where you're gonna have to like think if you can buy this thing or not. That is what I'm saying. Like, that requirement should not be there. Should I buy this or should I not?
Mm-hmm.
At a minute level is probably unnecessary.
Mm.
I think we've all passed this at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really go to the grocery store. I'm like, how much is it?
Yeah.
You just buy what you need and you go home.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the level that you have to reach, because as a parent, there's a lot of growth you're going to do, but there's actually a lot of personal growth that you might stop doing for a little bit, or it might transition to like a parental growth.
Yeah, that definitely will.
With that being said, you have to understand, if you're to start this new phase of parent, you have to make sure you are close with the other phase of your own personal growth, where it's got you to that point where you're like, I'm ready to be a parent, right? Whatever requirement that meets for you might be something that means for me, and you could design this with your doctor.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
It's an interesting concept. Yeah. It is interesting. I'm not as against it as I was at the beginning.
And I honestly think it'd probably be better if it was, it could just not be a chip. It could be just like, okay, bring in your taxes.
Bring your papers.
And let me go through this all and just like analyze your life, see if you two people are ready for a 20-year child, because 18, 20 years.
Yeah. Commitment.
How much per week you can spend on extracurricular activities, what are the hours you got to work, how are you going to manage this, how tired are you going to be, what's your commute from work, and then you come back and then you got to hang out with this kid. But yeah, basic idea. Went through a lot of shit today.
We did quite a bit,
and I think these 2-week ones are solid. I think once every 2 weeks is fucking good.
Me too.
It gives me enough creative ideas to like actually schedule something properly.
And then you have enough ideas in the pipe to actually discuss and have like discussions, and because some of them aren't going to be great, but some of them will be, and then it gives you enough time where you have enough content to like.
But if you ferment it properly, it might be good.
Ooh.
There you go. All right. Any last words, dude?
Fermentation's the way.
Is it?
No, probably not.
I want to see if I have any fucking codes. I don't have shit, dude.
Grass is green or where you water it.
Or it could die.
Okay, man. Jesus.
All right. Peace.